Hello and welcome to GatherVerse News Unscripted, your home for humanity-centered tech journalism. I'm Lisa Bernard. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, as we do every Wednesday, we'll bring you our Pioneer Profile. That's where we take an in-depth look at someone who is working in Web3 with emerging technology, but they are not only a leader in the field, they are also considering how that technology impacts society and humans. Today, we'll introduce you to Brittan Heller. Brittan works at the intersection of technology and human rights, and she'll talk to us about concerns about safety and privacy in Web3. But first, we'd like to take you to our visit to AWE, or Augmented World Expo, where industry leaders spent 3 days talking about XR and experimenting with new tech products. AWE 2023 came into Silicon Valley with big energy. According to organizers, more than 5,000 people attended, and more than 300 companies set up info booths at the world's biggest XR event. Dozens of presenters spoke on topics ranging from gaming to education. GatherVerse founder Christopher Lafayette sat with me for a fireside chat on building a human-centric metaverse. He shared his passion and commitment to creating inclusive, accessible, ethically conscious digital spaces. And Christopher cautioned that society must be proactive in ensuring that AI remains safe. In the exhibit hall, there were many innovative products and experiences on display. The room was filled with both startups and more established companies. XR headsets and haptics demos were among the items shown. Electronic vests with pulses and vibrations grabbed a lot of interest. We also caught up with thought leaders in the industry who shared their insights with us about the future of AI and XR and the impact emerging tech will have on society. Here are Tom Furness, Philip Rosedale, and Alvin Graylin.
So what evolution does is that it keeps progressing. It keeps getting better, more complex, more intelligent. And so far, it's gotten to us, right? Now, and we only have been on, the Homo genus has only been on Earth for 2 million years out of 4 billion. So a very short time. There's really no reason to think that we are the apex that will ever be available, right? If you look at progress, it should continue to grow. It should continue to get smarter. So we shouldn't be afraid of a being that is smarter than us, that is more powerful or more capable. So if we look at it from that perspective, AI right now is taking all of the information and knowledge that we've created and putting that into itself and making us part of it. And if we see that as essentially us birthing a new form of life, we shouldn't look at it as something that we're afraid of. We should be looking at it as something that we should be proud of, because we are creating something that is more capable. We should be so proud of whatever comes out of this. And so far right now, it's only intelligence. It's not clear there's consciousness and compassion and empathy. But I believe that in time, as the scales of the technology grows, those things will emerge as well.
There's a great danger that we're going to end the world. We can't make AIs into replacements for other people that we want to interact with. So if we do that, we're dead. And so we have to decide as a society, how not to do that. I'm a practical optimist, optimist, but I do think that there's a lot of magic that needs to happen where we need to make decisions about our behavior. People won't hurt each other when they know what the rules are. And so I think with AI, we probably just need to learn quickly that there are very dangerous outcomes. The most dangerous thinking around AI is to think that we're somehow magically smarter than any AI. And that kind of thinking is very, very dangerous because we aren't, and we're going to be very easy to manipulate. And so we're going to have to make a collective decision not to build products, for example, that allow AIs to get in a situation where they might be tempted to manipulate us. And so, but I think we can do that.
We absolutely need this because it is the mechanism by which we're going to link our minds together and our hearts. And
How?
Yeah. How we're going to do that is through being able to be in places, be with each other. When you're in VR and you're communicating at a distance, you're interacting with an avatar generally. There's some representation of yourself, but you're not really there in terms of atoms. Okay, but let's say that you are inhabiting an avatar, and you and I are standing close to each other. Where is your spirit?
Here.
Yes, in your avatar. Your spirit is there. And so even though your appearance may be different, the physical appearance, your spirit still is there. And now that means that you can connect. And not just to a flat screen picture, that you'd have in Zoom. So to me, this is linking hearts. And linking hearts and unlocking our intelligence are the two things that this technology will do for us, and will help us become more than we could become otherwise, I believe, by that. Now, at the same time, we have to put it in its place. It's never going to take the place of interacting with atoms. It will never do that, because we need to take the glasses off and look at what's around us in the now, because it's pretty neat, in what we already have. And what I think too that this technology will do is awaken us to that, awaken us to actually use what we already have to realize this is pretty cool. And so my bottom line is we need to slow down. It's going to be okay. And it will be wonderful and hopeful. And we have some problems to solve, one of which is trust. We're going to have to develop those kinds of abilities to discriminate. There's some tools we can start using for authentication and for privacy and things like that. And those tools we don't have the ones we need to have right now with the AI things, but certainly we should have the tools to tell us if something is generated by AI or something is generated by a human. That we can do. We can figure out how to do that. And then we decide, okay, am I going to believe this AI guy, or am I going to say, I want to talk to a real person?
And thank you to our associate producers, Jordan Klein, Teresa Fitzgibbons, and Juliana Salmone for their help with that piece. Next week, I'll show you a demo I did at AWE. It was an XR immersive experience where I was completely immersed in a kitchen. I was able to boil some water on a kettle to make tea and crack eggs in a bowl. It was very cool, and I will show you that next week. But for now, it's time for our pioneer profile. Brittan Heller is who we will introduce you to today. She is an attorney and also a member of the Stanford Cyber Policy Center and Virtual Human Interaction Lab. She's a leading figure in the fight against online harassment and hate speech. Here is Brittan Heller. We are speaking with Brittan Heller for GatherVerse News. Brittan works at the intersection of law, technology, and human rights. She has an extensive practice in international law overseas. Brittan, thank you so much for talking with us today. And tell us about your journey, how your interest in the law brought you to where you work today, which is to ensure safety and privacy in the metaverse.
It was kind of a happy accident, or rather an unhappy accident. I ended up becoming the Jane Doe plaintiff in the first cyber harassment lawsuit back when I was a student over at Yale Law. And I did it to stop people from harassing myself and other women and other minorities, and to see if a normal person could stop harassment when they were on the receiving end.
And in that lawsuit, you had to navigate an area where there really weren't laws to protect you at that time?
Correct, and there's still very few laws today. The suit was designed to test the limits of that law, and obviously, my lawyers and I found that most people can't get redress. So after that, I became a human rights lawyer. I probably would have been the happiest international law professor you've ever met if that had never happened. But it really showed me how technology touches each one of our lives, and it's a new avenue for human rights, not necessarily a distraction from what I had wanted to do.
That's right. And so you were in Web 2.0, the internet, now with the metaverse and the rise of Web 3. Tell me your concerns about the lack of laws, the need for laws. How can, as a society, we ensure privacy and safety in Web 3?
If we just take the same laws that we developed to govern the internet and cut and paste them over into the metaverse, it will be a failure of imagination. The way that XR impacts our bodies and our minds is different than the way the World Wide Web works. So we have to take existing laws and examine their fit or their misalignment with extended reality.
Can you give us a concrete example?
Absolutely. The way that you process experiences while in the metaverse is the same way that your brain processes memories. So it goes through your hippocampus. Because of that, people who say they were assaulted or harassed in the metaverse, to their cognition, to their brain, they actually were assaulted. I was a prosecutor, and I used to work with a lot of victims of sexual assault. And the people that I talk to who say that they were accosted in the metaverse, they act and they use the same language and they describe it the same way. So it's not like reading harsh words on the web or scrolling through a very critical Twitter feed. It's actually like you and I sitting here in a living room, and if someone you invited into your home assaulted you, that's actually what it feels like to your body, to your limbic system, to your emotions, and to your mind.
So what can the legal system do? What protections can be in place? How can we protect people from that?
I think by, first off, educating the police, because for a very long time they would just tell people, turn off your screen. But you can't do that with immersive media. If this is the way that we're going to work and play and learn, we can't tell people that because of their identity they can't participate.
Right, that's not good enough.
No, that's unacceptable. The other way I think we can protect ourselves is looking at privacy law. And privacy law right now is designed to protect your identity, your personal identifying information. But when you go into the metaverse, companies basically know who you are. You log in with a user account tied to a verifiable billing address. So your identity is not at issue. It's more the implications that can be made about your likes, your dislikes, and your preferences, or the medical inferences that can be made from the data that you need to make XR hardware work. So I've been promoting concepts of mental privacy.
That's interesting. So how would that work?
The type of information you can get from eye tracking data when you're in an XR headset is remarkable. It can tell you what you're paying attention to, or if you're telling the truth, or if you're sexually attracted to the person you're looking at, or if you show preclinical signs of autism, schizophrenia, ADHD, Parkinson's, and Huntington's. These are things that your doctor may not know about you yet. There are things you may not know about yourself yet. And there are definitely things that you shouldn't consent to give away when you play a video game.
Interesting. So it is remarkable technology. If having this technology is going to move us forward in terms of diagnosing these things and early intervention, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's not all doom and gloom.
It's not all doom and gloom.
It's not all doom and gloom, and
but it is scary.
I think XR is amazing, which is why I started to study it about 6 years ago. I did a fellowship at Harvard Kennedy School looking at what content moderation will look like in spatial computing environments. Because it's not just conduct and content like on Facebook, its conduct, content, and environment. We can control and build worlds. And that is an amazing, awesome thing, but it also means that we need to think about how these rules, or how these worlds will develop rules, enforce the rules, and be governed so that we can enjoy the amazing parts of it.
So who's the we? Who's the we? Because, I'm nodding, yes, 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 I want that. But are businesses being responsible enough? Are the businesses and the people, the creators of these amazing world's technologies, how can society hold them to a standard that is safe?
It actually takes an effort from the users, from local, state, and federal governments, because most privacy laws are state level, and from the people who create these amazing experiences.
Do you feel that the creators at this time are being responsible?
I think that they're still exploring. So the answer is yes, but the hardware floor isn't solidified yet. So it's really hard to make rules to govern a new type of technology while the form factor is still shifting all the time. You can't really make laws to govern a technology. You have to make them to address a specific harm. Because if you write something to talk about XR hardware, well, what about mixed reality? What about augmented reality? What about haptics?
So the concern, though, that it would be reactive rather than proactive. There are all these elements, but should there be a system in place before it's created to ensure that it's safe?
Right now, I turn to the UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights. And kind of the shorthand version of that is that governments have an obligation to protect human rights, but companies have an obligation to respect human rights. So they work together, and both parties have to join forces to create a remedy for people whose rights are violated.
Okay, so it truly is, though, in the remedy where the growth will come or the evolution will come of the law.
I think so. And taking existing laws and specializing them for the science behind how XR works.
So do you think scientists are being consulted? Do you think, like you're talking about the neurology of the brain, is that an important piece that businesses should have a department for that or consultants who help them with that?
I'm a consultant that gets to help them with that, and I feel really lucky because I don't really know other human rights lawyers who get to have an emerging tech practice. It's a really fun space because you get to break the toys before the toys break people. And I find that it's challenging and it's fun telling people, you've made this amazing thing, but have you considered this use case? And so you get to be part of the iterative process.
That's really, really cool. So that's the break the toys piece. Mm-hmm. That's what you mean by that?
Yeah.
Have you thought about this? Have you considered this? And are they responsive?
They actually are. And if they weren't, I probably would go back to being a pure academic. But it feels really good. The XR community is very open to feedback and critique, again, because it's still in this early exciting phase. Tom Furness talks about XR as being akin to splitting the atom. Mm. It's the most powerful learning tool we've ever come across. It has the power to persuade people, and it's not something that I take lightly. I think we have a responsibility to each other as global citizens to make sure that XR technology is used to augment human potential.
Well, it's very comforting to know that there are people like you who have recognized these concerns and are addressing them. And hopefully there are more people like you, and hopefully the businesses listen to people like you, because as I said, it is comforting and encouraging. So thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for speaking with us today for GatherVerse News. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
That again was Brittan Heller. Tomorrow, I will be joined by Monica Eres. Monica is a leading expert in immersive technology for learning. She will be here to discuss how immersive experiences in virtual reality can increase access to education and actually transform how we learn. She has used XR to amaze and inspire school-aged children all over the world. That is tomorrow, and I hope you will join me. It is at noon Pacific time right here. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a great day.